KyDerby.
The turn, the leader, War Admiral 2.5 for green.
Next for third is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear. Yeah, that's Westlake coming the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's low of 1979.
Off of a slow Easter Sunday for the trainers, the stable hands, most of the horses, it's time to get back to work on a Monday morning. And as you can see, we've got some rain coming down under the Twin Spires of Churchill Downs. Light rain, maybe a little bit heavier than that with a temperature nearing the mid-70s. The main track, I don't know about fast as this rain comes down. We'll see how the track is once we hit that designated training time at 7:15, but we welcome you to the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show presented by Twin Spires. As we take a look at the headlines, Wood winner Rodriguez sizzles for Bob Baffert in a solo Sunday breeze at Santa Anita. Baffert also has a Citizen Bull teed up for Kentucky Derby 151. On the AE list, looking in by Aza, California Burrito. By Aza in California Burrito right here at Churchill Downs worked in company. We'll take a look at those works a little bit later on in the show. Florida Derby winner Tappan Street for Brad Cox. Virginia Derby winner American Promise for Dwayne Lucas. Recent arrivals at Churchill Downs. Hope to see them during the designated training period. Caitlin Free reported through Dave Brenning of the DRF on Kentucky Oaks jockey assignments yesterday morning. Manny Franco on 5G and Irad Ortiz Jr. atop Fondly. Joe Christofak, and happy to welcome in Kevin Kilroy to the desk here today. And Kevin, well timed for your appearance on the desk this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been stuck on that fourth floor of Millionaires Row, getting soaked with Bill. So cheers to Mike and Bill and everybody up there who is taking the reign, and of course who we have on the backside.
Looking forward to this morning. Not much activity for you up there on the fourth floor yesterday. A lot more expected today.
Yeah, it's going to be good to see a few of these make the appearance on the track. And on a wet track, well, we'll see. It's going to be labeled fast.
Right.
We'll see how much, but a little moisture in there might give you a fuller picture of these horses coming into the race.
Making her Kentucky Derby morning workout show debut on the backstretch. We welcome in Megan Burgess. Megan, it's great to have you here. A little bit of rain on the backstretch, but smiles across the board this morning.
I couldn't agree more. It's a balmy, rainy morning here beneath the Twin Spires, but I could not be more excited to make my morning work show debut here. It's a true privilege and honor. I've been watching this race ever since I was a little girl, so it's truly a surreal moment to be here joining this all-star cast, including the pro that is Caitlin Free, being able to cover all the action here on the backside. But just because it might be a slow Monday morning does not mean the action does not continue. We will be able to bring you some updates on that pretty impressive work coming from Santa Anita and that Grade 2 Wood Memorial winner in Rodriguez. He seems to be trending in the right direction for trainer Bob Baffert. We also have some arrivals to chat with about Grade 1 winner Tappan Street is now at Cox headquarters here in Louisville. And not to forget that Virginia Derby winner in American Promise right over across from me at the barn over with Dwayne Lucas, the coach. Here you see him arriving, taking to his surroundings at Churchill Downs. I actually got a chance to see him over the track. He looked very happy this morning, a very strong, big son of Justify. We're very much looking forward to him continue on in his final preparations here in Louisville. But Joe, Kevin, just because the action still continues and we're definitely setting the stage for what is to come here beneath the Twin Spires.
Well, thank you, Megan. And we're going to take a look now at the Kentucky Derby Top 20 leaderboard, Kevin. A lot of these horses, slowly trickling in. We got a lot of the Southern California horses still to come.
Yeah, still to come. They've all got to be here. I believe it's midday on next Saturday. So good to hear that American Promise, that Virginia Derby winner, is keeping that tradition of Dwayne Lucas. G's, D's all coming out of my mouth, Joe. Dwayne Lucas getting to the track early with his horses. It'll be interesting to see how he takes to Churchill.
Journalism en route, I do believe, to Churchill Downs as we speak. The likely favorite for Kentucky Derby 151 as we turn the page here. to the second of the 20 horses, and again 20 in the starting gate for the Derby, Kevin.
Yeah, 20 in the starting gate. You know, the more points you got means that you win the bigger preps, right? Or that you've been gathering them all along, just sort of picking off your pieces as you go. Grande seems to be one that, although just second in that last Wood Memorial, might be coming into his best. So don't sleep on them just because they're lower on the list in terms of points. 4
horses knocking on the door on the outside, looking in by Aza, amongst them Mage's little brother, the runner-up to journalism last out in the Santa Anita Derby. We'll take a look at his workout from yesterday, along with California Burrito's work from yesterday a little bit later on in the show. One of the more talked about workouts was the in-company move between Publisher and Tiztastic. Publisher, a maiden, as is his trainer, at least in the Derby, Steve Asmussen. He's won over almost 11,000 races overall in his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, here we got Publisher, you know, a horse that was, Flavien Prat was taking the mounts on Publisher, which was very interesting to see that, you know, he had been proven in the mornings, and you could tell that they were picking up on that. Ran second in that Arkansas Derby, does seem very good. Tiztastic won that Louisiana Derby, maybe a track-specific horse, Joe. This is one that Steve Asmussen said, we moved back to Louisiana because we thought he was training better at fairgrounds than he was at Oaklawn. He got it done there. Does he like Churchill's track? That's one question we got to keep in mind.
Tiztastic, also a stakes winner at Kentucky Downs on the turf. And here's that work from the other day. Publisher, Tiztastic, they're no strangers to one another.
No, they have kept each other a lot of company in the mornings at Oaklawn Park. I think it's interesting to see who trainers are pairing their horses up with if they are working in company. Now we've got 2 Derby horses very full of themselves coming into their best. They're going to push each other here, Joe. You can see that Publisher is like, let's go, Tiz. Come on, let's get it done. And Tiztastic is lagging behind a little bit. Maybe this wasn't by design, but you can see the rider looking back, trying to make sure that Tiztastic gets even because he wants Tiztastic to get something out of the work as well. Tiztastic makes a good run here in the stretch, is able to get up to Publisher, but doesn't seem like Publisher was ever asked, really had to get down to his best. He might have even had a better time if he fully went throughout this work.
Publisher, for a deeper out-the-back closer, does have a little bit of tactical speed. What do you see her at the end of this work? Because to me, it looks like Publisher works a lot better.
Yeah, you know, Publisher definitely handles Tiztastic's, you know, the big run, the early part and into the turn here. But at the end, Tiztastic keeps on coming, and distance is the key. So you got to think about not only when you have your run, what part of the race you have your run. Can you get that 1.25 miles for the Kentucky Derby? And Tiztastic at the end keeps on coming, does stay game, does get by Publisher at the end of this work.
Scott Blasi, the top lieutenant for Steve Asmussen on the backstretch. What did he think about this in-company work and these horses in general?
It was pretty much their big work for the going into Derby. We were 2 weeks out. I thought both horses worked well. Going forward, it was having easy work next week, and I think we're there. But I'm very happy with how they came out of the works, most importantly, because you know how Derby is. You're never there till you're there. But we're happy with how they breezed, and we're happy with how they came out of their works. Steve wanted them to go together because they're both of equal talent. Make each other do something so they'll actually get something out of it. So it's worked for us well in the past, breezing our good horses together, and hopefully it works out one time in the Derby because we haven't won it yet. He's such a tough, strong horse that, you know, he's had success as a 2-year-old, continued it on as a 3-year-old. He's obviously getting better with age, and a 1 mile and 3/16 at the fairgrounds was ideal for him, and I think the farther they go, the better. After watching him breeze yesterday, I'm excited about running him. I mean, he's obviously got a tremendous amount of talent and has continued to improve. So, you know, he deserves every chance to be in there, and as we all know, anything can happen in the Derby.
Let's put a bow on this work, Kevin, because you can see there Tiztastic is having to work, and Publisher's workout is pretty much done. He did that in hand. Let's just put a bow on that. You know, upgrade, downgrade, or pretty much stay the same with your opinion?
Well, like Blasi's talking about what you get out of the work, right? It's not necessarily what happens in the work. We want to get something out of it. Tiztastic really tried hard, really dug in, was really asked a ton. That doesn't mean that he's inferior. I think maybe he got a lot of fitness out of that work, and definitely, you know, I think both of them have an equal shot in there. It's hard to separate the two.
It's a career accomplishment just to get a horse into the Kentucky Derby, or the Kentucky Oaks, and rarely do you see a trainer get a horse in both, especially when they're this young in their training career. Standing by with one of those gentlemen is Megan Burgess on the backstretch. Megan, what you got?
I'm very privileged to be joined here by trainer Whit Beckman, who, as you mentioned, it's very rare to see a trainer. He broke off in 2023 on his own. He is now represented in this year's Kentucky Derby with Flying Mohawk, coming off the heels of last year with Honor Marie. But not just that, he's got 2 Kentucky Oaks contenders and Simply Joking and Drexel Hill. But we'll speak to your Kentucky Derby contender in Flying Mohawk. He was second last time out in the Jeff Ruby Stakes over the synthetic, certainly has turf on the pedigree page. How has he really taken to himself here at Churchill Downs and getting over the surface?
Yeah, he trained here through the fall, and then, coming back, he's trained obviously in New Orleans all winter, and then has come back here and hasn't missed a beat. He's always trained, worked well over the dirt. Like I said, we spotted him on the turf early for a couple other reasons, but I think as he's grown and matured, he's, gotten stronger, and I think he's, going to be a competitive factor in this race.
We'll take a look over here at his workouts over on the 19th, but is he still take me through your impressions of this work, and is he still on track for that final breeze this upcoming weekend, and what are you really hoping to achieve on that final work?
I think as far as fitness and everything goes, we're pretty much where we need to be. It's kind of a maintenance work next week. This was a good 5/8 move for him and Honor Marie. They went a minute flat, out 13 flat for that's, proper racehorse times insofar as preparation. So we'll just do something simple next week. Friday, Saturday, look what the weather looks like and, make a decision then.
Well, now we'll finish up here with Flying Mohawk. We'll speak to your Kentucky Oaks contender and Simply Joking. She's 2 for 3. She broke her maiden at the fairgrounds in a stake race. You've always praised her as a standout. Let's talk through her fantasy. She was extremely game, taking pressure from a seasoned veteran in Quiet Side. How impressed were you with that performance coming off the layoff and now being able to hopefully turn the tables in the Kentucky Oaks?
Yeah, everything this filly's ever shown me in the morning, the afternoon, I know she's going to run big races every time. She's a very talented filly. She's got a ton of ability, hence why I kind of put her in the stake first time out. Coming down in that, race in Oaklawn, the one thing we were kind of worried about was maybe ending up, if she was going to break a little quick and get to the front, was ending up down on the inside of horses, which ended up happening. And, it's a tough trip for any horse, but she had such a game, effort all the way around. She dug in. She was coming off a layoff. I think there was a few things that, she got out of it, experience for sure, a little fitness, and, yeah, hopefully that desire to win next time.
Couldn't agree more. I'm very excited to see her take on these ladies again as we look towards the Kentucky Oaks. But she's actually a filly that we mentioned over at the fairgrounds, had a quirky relationship with some of the lights on the screens, whether it be in the paddock or coming down the lane, maybe a little bit distracted. Do you find her being able to improve off of that, a little bit more comfortable, especially coming into Churchill, which we know can be a spectacle on Oaks Day?
Yeah, you can't really prepare him for what's going to happen here on Oaks Day, but her couple races that she had down in New Orleans, just from an experience standpoint, she's just one of those. She just kind of got caught off guard by a few things. She's watching her environment. She's very aware of everything. She's not necessarily 100% trusting, but she's not, one that's going to react, in a, real, big way. But she does definitely notice things.
We're going to take a look at that work here with Simply Joking on the inside, her stablemate Drexel Hill on the outside. Drexel Hill coming off of that win on March 1st in the Busher. Talk to me about her fitness level, how she's been training up to this race, and how you see her being able to achieve that 9 furlong distance.
Yeah, with the timing of the Busher, we just didn't feel like another start with all the shipping we were going to have to do was going to really, serve what we were trying to do here for getting her ready for the Oaks. So the layoff, we think, suited her. That work last week was very sharp, so definitely probably put some, lung in her air in her lungs and just got her a little bit sharper. So we're real happy with how she came in. I mean, it was a fast work last week. They both looked great doing it, and, yeah, we're confident we got two good fillies to run.
Well, thank you so much, Whit, for your time. And Joe, Kevin, I know there are a lot of Louisvillians that are going to be rooting on this St. X High School graduate in this upcoming Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks.
Well, thanks, Megan. Thanks, Whit. We've gotten a chance to know Whit over the last couple of years at Fairgrounds Class Act. Very well spoken, and he's well represented in the Oaks and Derby this year.
Yeah, he is. He's always said that Simply Joking is his best filly, right? Practical joke filly, very big, very strong. Doesn't necessarily need the lead, can come from off of it. Is what Whit's seeing. We'll see if she goes to the front there. We also know some baseball fans. Jason Worth, part of the ownership group of Flying Mohawk, are going to be cheering on Whit that first Saturday in May.
Good Cheers undefeated, but Quiet Side, Simply Joking, just two of the major contenders she's going to have to face in Kentucky Oaks 151. Let's transition back to the Kentucky Derby and a horse that was in based on points. Then the connection said, maybe the Pat Day Mile's the better spot. Then they said, okay, we're catching Derby fever, talking about Owen Almighty.
Yeah, Owen Almighty, right? Can we get the distance? Is the big question, right? Can we get by a horse like East Avenue? We couldn't get it done in the Bluegrass. Maybe a little bit of trouble there just to not get that clean run from the gate. East Avenue was hell-bent on going forward and turned back Owen Almighty pretty easily. I got to think that this one is a mile and a quarter shy. I think we'll see better runs from him going forward, going shorter.
Let's take a look at our Kentucky Derby pace projectors. Now, Owen Almighty projects to be part of that early pace, and let's talk you through this. Manny Franco, interestingly enough, on East Avenue also has 5G in the Kentucky Oaks, so we know where Manny's going to be on Friday and Saturday. Mike Smith Rodriguez, a gate-to-wire winner of the Wood Memorial, despite taking the blinkers off. Nick Juarez on American Promise for Dwayne Lucas. Looks like he's going to go. Owen Almighty, we talked about him. Admire Daytona, Christophe Lemaire in 2022 with Crown Pride, that runoff pace setter in the Kentucky Derby. And Citizen Bull has almost always been on the lead, Kevin, but he takes the blinkers off for Bob Baffert.
Yeah, who goes forward? Who's really interested in that? I mean, so much of the post position is a part of it because you don't want to get cooked by that early pace. Owen Almighty, I mean, do they want to fully send him if they really think his better races are going shorter? Do they want to get him into trouble, get him cooked in the Derby? I'm not sure. I got to think that Rodriguez wants to go forward. We've seen Baffert do it time and again that way. East Avenue has never passed another horse in a race. You got to think that they want to go forward. But Manny Franco, I believe he was on Verifying a couple of years ago. He learned how tough it can be if you go too fast too early, as that one went backwards towards the end of the race after going too quick. Admire Daytona does seem like a horse that wants to lead and will try to get it, of course, depending on post position.
Bob Baffert earlier this year had horses like Barnes and Cornucopia that were all the rage. Rodriguez maybe fourth or fifth in his pecking order, but he has kind of risen to the top here off of the Wood Memorial victory. He goes gate to wire here, Kevin, with the blinkers off, and Mike Smith. Grande wide on the first turn, wide on the backstretch, just kind of grinding at him late, but Rodriguez proves too tough to catch.
Yeah, too tough to catch. I mean, he gets a great trip on the inside, saves every inch, right? And if you look at Thoroughgraph, who accounts ground loss, etc., Grande gets the better figure, gets that 0 as we get that 1 from Rodriguez. But they don't catch him in the gallop out either. It's not like he just gets to the front, has an easy lead, and can't get the distance. He keeps on going. Grande runs very well in here, but I think Rodriguez, even though the Wood Memorial hasn't been a key race going forward in the Kentucky Derby, I think it could be an interesting one this year.
Take a look at the work from yesterday, Kevin, and if you thought the Wood Memorial was impressive, and I know he does this solo, but you can't go any easier and be very much more impressive than this.
Yeah, this is, basically in hand. We see a lot of sort of urging from the works at Santa Anita, a lot of handily, works labeled handily from the Baffert camp as well. And he just has this high cruising speed that he basically keeps around the clock from early all the way to late. There's a little bit of an interesting part where he does sort of have to avoid some traffic towards the end of the work, but he gets back into it late. So we see this horse going very well, going for distance, going fast. I like this work a lot, Joe. This moved Rodriguez up on my list into that top 5. Maybe a little bit of difficulty in the lead change when he was coming to the top of the stretch, which gives me a little pause, a little unprofessional in that. But everything else here, just fantastic.
No, this was impressive, no doubt about it. Mike Smith watched the work from the stands, and he talked about the fact that it was tough to pull this horse up off the Wood Memorial. The outrider had to come and get him. Those are all the boxes you want to see from a horse that has speed, and obviously a question for all of these about the mile and a quarter distance, but Rodriguez certainly coming into the race the right way. Let's take a look at the horses that are going to be in the stalking queue, Kevin. These are the horses that are likely to make first run, midway, late on the backstretch. Taking a look at Grande, we mentioned him from the runner-up performance in the Wood Memorial for Todd Pletcher. The Kentucky Derby favorite, Journalism, likely to be in the stalking queue, along with Florida Derby winner Tapan Street and some of the others.
Yeah, this is that spot where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 horses who want to be all in that same position. Who can get there, right? Look at the pace figures. Look at those early pace figures. Who's got that natural and proven ability in the races to get from the gates and get to the spot they want, because they're all going to be trying to win that first race, that race from the gates to that stalking, tracking trip. You got to think that Journalism has the advantage here. He wants to get that first run on the closers. He's proven in that way. The Florida races don't seem like they've had that strong a pace, which is interesting to see. The figures coming out of those from Brisnet don't prove that Tapan Street has that sort of pace to keep up with a few others in here. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins that first race to get into this perfect spot.
A lot of off-the-pace types that, at least on paper, look like major players for Kentucky Derby 151. Amongst them, Bluegrass winner Burnham Street, Louisiana Derby winner Pistastic, Sovereignty, the winner of the Fountain of Youth, and then Sandman, the winner of the Arkansas Derby, Kevin. Final Gambit, too. I mean, he looked really, really good in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, taking that down with a scintillating turn of foot, and he's proven to handle the main track well, at least in the mornings.
Yeah, he's working quite well. I mean, I think we've got maybe the second and third choice here, or maybe second and fourth choice with Sandman. Going to take a lot of money, and you've also got Burnham Square. Trip dependent when you're coming from way off of it. You've got to be able to work it out. You've got to be able to get through the runners late. You've got to get to good position in that far turn. So these are some big runners, some big late movers, maybe coming forward into their own. Definitely distance will help them to run their best, ones that you want to use in your Supervecta if you don't like them to win.
If the Kentucky Derby was a beauting contest, it would probably be a dead heat between East Avenue and Sovereignty. He checks that box. He's extremely well bred for Godolphin. He is a monster, and he's got a monster stride.
Monster stride. Great to see this coming in after pairing up tops on Thoroughgraph. Are we going to be able to hold form? Are we going to move forward? Seeing that move into the turn, through the wire, definitely impressed me and told me that, yes, we will.
A deep closing move from Rich Strike in 2022 to catch Epicenter. Mage in the stalking queue in 2013. Mystic Dan with a ground-saving trip, but he actually made the lead at the quarter pole, Kevin, and in that three-horse photo finish was the victor with Brian Hernandez for Kenny McPeak. But we've seen a lot of these horses either on the lead, just off the pace, or in that stalking queue and making that move and being in position on the turn for home.
Yeah, you know, Mystic Dan in a great spot throughout, right? And able to get that perfect trip. Mage, we saw that pace really heat up. Two Phils was the worst for the wear at the end because of it, and he was able to take advantage. And he was just training so good deep into his gallops, deep into his moves in the morning. So it made sense that he would turn it on late. Rich Strike, what are we going to say? But you want to be in that good spot, right? And this is not only an indication in terms of your running style, but did you work out a clean trip? Because if you didn't, if you got shuffled back, if you knocked here and there, you're not going to be in that good spot. You're really going to be gasping for air trying to get close there at that 1 mile spot. So this is a sort of story of not only running style, but also how did your trip go?
If you love the Kentucky Derby like Kevin Kilroy and I and a lot of you fans out there do, lots of memories. We see that open and War Emblem finding more on the lead at 20-1 after he'd won the Illinois Derby in the start prior, and I didn't bet him. The last horse, though, to go gate to wire was Authentic in 2020. The last horse to go from last to first, Kevin, Mind That Bird. Nobody will ever forget that race in 2009. But only 8 horses have come from way off the pace from last to first to wear the roses.
Yeah, how fitting would it be if Baffert comes back to Churchill and the son of Authentic is the next wire-to-wire winner. Rodriguez definitely seems like one that might try to get it done that way.
Kevin and I both talking about the opening night draw coming up tomorrow. We cannot wait. A double draw, actually, for Saturday and Tuesday. Lots of tremendous wagering opportunities over the course of the next week and a half at Churchill Downs. But another great opportunity for you if you like to play the races is the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge and the qualifiers leading up to it and all the tournaments at Twin Spires. $250,000 prize pool for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. Couple of seats to next year's Betting Challenge for the Kentucky Derby. Couple of seats to next year's NHC and a seat to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge coming up later on this fall. Again, the next qualifier will be on April 26th, opening night at Churchill Downs. All right, the designated training period is coming up just moments from now. We've talked about Quiet Side. We've talked about Simply Joking. All hail Good Cheer. She's undefeated and the favorite for this year's Oaks.
Place your bets with Twin Spires Handicapping Insights, our expert picks, or just by choosing a name that catches your eye. No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.
Like the Kentucky Derby, Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We got a lot of rain this morning, but I guess you wouldn't know it by how the racetrack is looking, as the maintenance period is just about to end, and the competitors for the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks are about to move their way onto the racetrack off of a very slow day yesterday, a walk day for a lot of the horses who had worked on Saturday. Should see a lot more Oaks and Derby contenders here on the Morning Workout Show, presented by Twin Spires here this morning. All right, we've talked a lot about the Derby. We've talked a little bit about the Kentucky Oaks. Journalism likely favored for the Derby. The definite favorite for the Kentucky Oaks is Good Cheer. We've talked about some of the horses that might be the main competitors, but there's no doubt that she has the best resume.
No doubt. Undefeated is the best, right? Maybe the next Zenyatta, maybe the next Monomoy girl coming out of Brad Cox's barn. They've always celebrated her mind, her maturity in terms of figuring things out early and just doing things how she wants to do it. Not necessarily that impressive physically when you look at her, but mentally, there's a lot there, Joe.
Again, the final assignments for the Kentucky Oaks jockeys, Manning Franco on 5G, Irad Ortiz Jr. on Finley, and there you see the 14. That will be the number that will enter the starting gate on the first Friday in May. All right, Good Cheer. We've seen how good she's been in the afternoons at Churchill Downs, at Fairgrounds, etc. She's going to be the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks. I'm thinking, if I'm making that morning line, and again, we got to see the post positions, we got to see if there's any defections. I'm thinking 9-5 or so. It's a 14-horse field, Kevin, and she's a late closer. And you've got horses like Quiet Side, Simply Joking, who like to be forward, who figure to get better trips than her.
Well, we got Louis Saez up on this late closer, right? And Louis is just so good at getting a horse where they need to be from the gates, right? And that's what we saw last out in the Fairgrounds Oaks. It did seem like a Hava could wire that field as there wasn't much pace signed on, and we saw her get in a great tracking spot to make that signature move to just burst by the competition, right? So Good Cheer is just one that has just impressed me immensely, Joe.
This is the Fairgrounds Oaks. She comes back after winning the Rachel Alexandra in a short field in the race prior, and they've made a point, Kevin, to teach her some lessons. She's been so much the best in some of these races, she wasn't getting a lot out of it mentally. She had to work at least a little bit to get the job done in these starts.
Yeah, I think she probably learned a ton from this. Learned how to find a different sort of spot in the race. And then Hava dug in. We didn't, I said that signature burst. It wasn't necessarily that signature burst from her that in terms of getting by and clearing that field with great quickness. So Hava did dig in, but Good Cheer, I think she got a lot from that race.
Now, Good Cheer proven at Churchill Downs, and so is this filly Lacara.
Lacara, yeah. Churchill Downs proven is a big aspect that you need to keep in mind for your handicapping. We know these horses have their footing preferences, right? So Lacara, we just see her lightly galloping, going 1.5 miles yesterday. We haven't seen her work since the Ashland, and that's a question mark for me, why we haven't seen her back on the work tab.
Let's take a look back at the Ashland. She's going to go gate to wire in this race. You see Take Charge Milady, who gets a dream run up the rail, but Lacara had a better trip, obviously, when you're on the lead and able to dictate terms, especially with the short stretch here at Keeneland, going the mile and a 16th. Lacara just too tough to catch.
Joe, there's no doubt about it in my mind that the early part of the Ashland meet, going 2 turns, you wanted to be forward on the inside. That's what we saw time and again. So I'm downgrading those horses who are able to take advantage of that sort of trip to get it done early part of the meet at Keeneland.
We saw Simply Joking's work in company with Drexel Hill. The horse that beat her last time in the fantasy was Quiet Side for Johnny Ortiz, and I absolutely love this workout.
Yeah, this is a great move. It's a great move. In terms of John Ortiz workers, they do move well in the mornings. They do move sharp. She's been very impressive. Getting by Simply Joking there, who dug in on her, and her finish was strong. There's no knocks on this Quiet Side filly, except for maybe you could say that the rail at Oaklawn that day was not the place to be. That's where Simply Joking was, so maybe that tired her, not the best part of the track to be on, and Quiet Side was able to take advantage of that. But that's a sort of minor thing in terms of moving this. Considering moving this horse down in your estimation. She's been fantastic.
Yeah, Simply Joking may have needed that race. Her Quiet Side has been pretty much going race to race all along for Johnny Ortiz, but it was a heck of a battle in the fantasy. Simply Joking, we saw go gate to wire early in the fairgrounds meet in the Silver Bullet Day. The fantasy on the outside, quiet side. And, you know, we're seeing the stretch run here, Kevin, but this was basically a match race from the 3/16 pole, maybe even a quarter pole, half-mile pole to the wire.
Yeah, this would be very cool to see them sort of knock heads again, right? This is the sort of battle that you're like, whoa, these are two competitors. These are two that really wanted it that day. So it could be one of those duos that we see again and again that keep us pulling into the sport and loving what these fillies bring us.
Earlier this morning, Megan Burgess caught up with trainer Whit Beckman talking about Simply Joking in Drexel Hill. I want to know a little bit more about Quiet Side. Megan, you got some info for me?
Yeah, I do. I was actually really lucky to be able to catch up with her trainer, Johnny Ortiz, and her rider, Jose Ortiz, I might add, not brothers, but just working as a team. Team Ortiz here, you could say, with Quiet Side. But John was very pleased with her move yesterday. He said her fastest splits were past the wire, and he actually asked her jockey aboard, Jose Ortiz, who will be aboard her in the Kentucky Oaks, what was the difference between when he got on her at the fairgrounds and when he got on her at Keeneland. He said she felt awesome, that when he didn't even have to ask her this time around, which is extremely encouraging. And John Ortiz notably gets on his horse. This is a top-notch horseman, and he did so with Quiet Side. And after her rest day, she cooled out extremely well yesterday. He got on her himself and said she was fresh, sound, and energetic. Jose Ortiz again echoed those sentiments, said she felt great, and the work was exactly what they were looking for coming in to this Kentucky Oaks. So Joe, Kevin, I don't think that you can get a better update from Connections, especially coming into the biggest race of this filly's life.
Yeah, they both said basically what we saw in the video.
Yeah, not asked at all until the end. A little bit of urging past, right? So I think she did get something out of that.
Keep going. Want to see a little bit of gallop out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a mile and an eighth in the Oaks. They haven't gone that far yet.
Haven't gone that far yet. And the fact that she was able to go faster through those splits, that speaks volumes.
No doubt about it. All right, so the horses are starting to gather. They had an easy day yesterday. They are antsy. They are chomping at the bit to get on the racetrack, including Admire Daytona. What's he going to do today? I know he's scheduled to work maybe tomorrow. One of the Japanese invaders, the winner of the UAE Derby, as we get ready for that designated training period. And there you see Admire Daytona, one of the many Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses we're going to see on the racetrack during that designated training period, which is now just moments away here on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show. We'll see what he does, Kevin, but looking forward to seeing what happens, and we will do just that here in just a moment or two. Derby, Oaks horses live on a racetrack that has a little bit of moisture in it after some rain here on a Monday morning at Churchill Downs.
As they head to the backstretch, it's a tight pack.
He's going to pull ahead. The Twin Spires expert picks were all optimistic.
You've got the best speeder rating in the field. Don't fail me now.
Man, I love this horse's name.
And from far behind, here comes Frank. It's neck and neck. Frank is winning. Frank wins!
Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show, and there you see some of the characters that will be competing in Kentucky Derby 151. We expect a lot of activity on the racetrack from the Oaks and Derby horses from a galloping, jogging perspective after a walk day for the vast majority of them yesterday, not only off the training on Saturday, lots of workouts on Saturday, but also yesterday being Easter Sunday. And Kevin, we'll see what we get here this morning.
Yeah, it's good to see Sandman back out there, right? After taking Easter off, he didn't join Lacara stablemate. So Sandman is back out there. What I want to see from him is that continued confidence. He carried himself so confidently, neck bowed throughout the last week. Does he keep that, right? We want to establish a baseline with what we're seeing from these horses and sort of see if they go in any sort of other direction. So Sandman, we'll wait to see once he gets past his pony whether he's carrying himself in that same way.
It was an interesting journey to the Kentucky Derby for Jose Ortiz, who was riding the Asmussen horses over the winter at Fairgrounds. Things didn't go according to plan. He winds up on Sandman for the Arkansas Derby, wins going away, and now has one of the major contenders for Kentucky Derby 151.
And he's right behind watching on. You can see him there in the hut. So Jose Ortiz very interested in this one. You know, when he got off...
he's watching us, I think, Kevin.
When he got off of Built in the Louisiana Derby and that didn't go quite so well, I just said to him, you got Sandman, you know. And so he got it done there, and he finally got his spot. So, you know, he's really feeling good about that.
It's interesting because the Ortiz family, they're friends with Mariano Rivera, and that's how this horse was named for the Metallica song. Mariano comes out of the bullpen. They play Enter Sandman, Hall of Fame pitcher for the New York Yankees. So some tie-ins there as we see one of the other Grays, a Final Gambit. Man, that turn of foot that he showed at Turfway was pretty awesome. I was a little bit skeptical, Kevin, about his ability to handle the dirt. Saw some works from him when he was a 2-year-old where I'm like, man, this horse handles the dirt just fine. He really put an exclamation point on that point here just the other day with his work.
Yeah, with Coffee Talk, you know, a talented, yet to be proven in the races, but a talented 3-year-old stablemate. He looked fantastic getting away from that one late in the work. He's moving well. I don't think he has any problem with the track.
Yeah,
I don't think he should worry about that at all. He did have the flow going in his way in terms of winning that Jeff Ruby. I think that would be one thing to keep in mind, but the flow should go towards the back, at least to get a piece in the Kentucky Derby.
We're going to send it to Megan Burgess on the backstretch, Megan, to Pan Street. I believe he arrived yesterday for Brad Cox. This is the first look we're getting at him this Kentucky Derby at lead-up season.
Mm-hmm. Street has always been a horse that I've just been so impressed by and very excited to see him come back here to Churchill Downs and see him in the flesh. He looks extremely energetic, and he looks like a horse that's very much ready to put his best foot forward. Now, he's coming off some really encouraging efforts down at Payson Park, and like Joe had mentioned, he is going to get his first glide over the Churchill Downs surface since arriving here from Payson Park, but Elliott Walden and Brad Cox both had been down there in Florida overseeing this colt and kind of trying to keep him there and keep him happy. He had just been doing so well, and they've been so happy with how this colt has come out of the Kentucky Derby. This will be his 4th start. He'll try to replicate the likes of Mage and Justify and trying to earn a Kentucky Derby win in just their 4th start. But guys, this colt looks fantastic, and he's just a horse that you always want to kind of figure out. Kevin mentioned this about if they've run their race prior to the Kentucky Derby, and by the looks of him, he looks extremely fresh, and he looks like a horse that's sitting possibly on his best effort.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is his first appearance on the Churchill Downs main track. Sometimes there's some acclimation that, you know, needs to occur, but he's handling the surroundings excellently. This is a horse that we have not seen on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show to date. Rendered Judgment, wintered with Kenny McPeak all winter at the Fairgrounds. Talked to him a lot about this horse.
Yeah, this is one that was always on the top of their list in terms of the 3-year-olds, thinking that he could get the distance, thinking that he would be in the conversation for the Derby. Here he is on the AE list. Ran good in the Virginia Derby, Joe. I like to see that he was able to get a little bit more forward, a little bit more in contact with the forward part of the race, and Sheldon Russell gave him a great ride, but American Promise just skirted away from him in that turn. So he'd have to move forward in a very big way. We'll see if he's able to do it and sort of indicate that and tout himself heading up to it.
Tommy Drury has indicated the California Burrito likely would go in the Pat Day Mile if he doesn't get in the Kentucky Derby. Rendered Judgment has priority over him. I haven't heard where he would go if he doesn't get in. Have you?
No, I haven't heard.
All right, there you see Rendered Judgment. Again, he's on the outside looking in for this year's Kentucky Derby. And again, a little bit difficult, Kevin. You're a lot better at identifying these horses than me, but man, it's tough to see the letters on those saddle towels, especially even more so this year.
So I'm thinking that's Asmussen, and we got Roberto Howe, publisher, is what I'm getting. My guess is, yeah, it's got to be publisher, not Tistastic with those blinkers on. So yeah, here's publisher. He's been proved himself over Tistastic in the morning, and has been looking very good on this track. Should love the distance. Has that big late kick. Publisher, I think this one is the one that we want to keep our eyes on.
When we saw him here last fall, Kevin, he profiled out as a horse the way Steve was campaigning him that could be this kind of horse. I'm just a little bit surprised he hasn't been able to win. But again, he's been running in stakes races as a maiden, so that kind of sort of does make some sense.
Yeah, you identified that, Joe. I remember being on the set with you that day when you said, we'll see him in the Derby starting gates. And here he is. Nostradamus, as Kalo called you the other day. All right, great to see Tapan Street moving.
Yeah. Your thoughts? I mean, physically, he's extremely well put together. And I love the way Brad has campaigned this horse like he does with a lot of his good horses. 7 furlongs, mile and a 16th, mile and an 1/8, mile and a quarter. He's only got 3 starts under his belt, Kevin, but the thing that I really like about this horse, beyond just, the boxes he's already checked that we've talked about, is his professionalism for being so lightly raced.
Yeah, you can see he's holding himself very well. I love, physicality is a big part of why I like this horse. You can see his caboose, right? He's got a very, very strong backside. He's got a great stride, great stretch to him. So here's one that is definitely a strong workhorse. Was outworking Saudi Crown several times down at Payson Park, most recently with Rapture, taking it to him. This is one that you got to think is going to move forward off of that very game effort to beat Sovereignty last out.
Brad Cox, the only Louisville-born and raised trainer to win a Derby, but not the way he wanted to, Kevin, by disqualification with Mandaloun a few years ago. Essential Quality 3rd, Angel of Empire 3rd. And we'll see if Tapan Street can get the job done. He also obviously has Final Gambit for Kentucky Derby 151. It's time for Sandman to enter the arena. He already did. He's out there. He's galloping. And again, these are Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses, Kevin. They're supposed to look good, but this horse is making a great appearance.
Yeah, this is, and he did throughout the winter at Oaklawn, throughout the winter and early spring. Just all the indications are there with how he's holding himself, that he's not losing too much energy from his big runs, right? That he's bouncing back in a good way and moving forward with it. So I like the way that he's carried himself, Joe. That was my question mark. Will he carry himself with that neck bow, that sort of confidence, and that nice stride? And he's been doing it for sure.
Froylan Garcia, the regular exercise rider of Sandman. We could bring Megan in quickly as well. A few grays in this year's Kentucky Derby. We talked about Final Gambit earlier. This is Sandman, another one of those horses that's going to come from off the pace, but looking good here this morning, Megan.
Sandman's a horse I'm really excited to see continue to develop. He's kind of shown bits of immaturity in some of his prep races down at Oaklawn Park, seeing as how he really did put things together last time out and closing into that lightning fast pace set by the Baffert horse and Cornucopian. But Christian Torres remarked on this horse down at Oaklawn Park when he was aboard in the mornings that this is a big, scopy son of Tappet who wants to go. He wants to press go. And the rider doing a really good job here, as you can see, kind of having him taking it all in, settle, and really just move within himself, not letting him get too overzealous. Now, this horse is expected to work this coming Wednesday, should be 10 days out from the Kentucky Derby. Going to be really interesting to see how he handles his final drill, but he looks to be a colt, guys, that he's coming into himself and really growing up, hopefully, as he embarks on this next test.
Kevin, he made the lead early in the Arkansas Derby. That was circumstantially. If he wins the Kentucky Derby, he's not going to be on the lead with a quarter mile to go. He got so lost on the lead. This is a horse that's going to be a lot better with a target. He's going to have some targets a week from Saturday.
Yeah, and Jose Ortiz is one that definitely knows how to work out this sort of trip where you're able to relax with a horse and come with it, whether he comes up the rail, whether he tries to come out wide. He's going to have to time that move perfectly, which is always so tough in any race, but in the Derby is very difficult. But getting lost on the lead is something that you want to keep in mind in terms of just a touch of greenness that's still with Sandman.
Hanging out with Bethany Taylor, his exercise rider, just checking out the competition. It's Cole Battle. His nickname for this year's Derby, at least the nickname I've given him, is Old School. 72-year-old trainer Lonnie Briley, and Kevin, a horse that's won 5 times. He's kind of a throwback kind of individual.
Yeah, I like hearing Lonnie talk about Cole Battle. What he says is that he does it himself. He trains himself, right? He does what he wants to in the morning, and maybe makes you when you think he's done working, he'll move a little bit more at the end. You know, he just kind of does it in his own way and has his own jokes. Lonnie thinks that he's kind of laughing at him with how he sort of does things on his own. So he's been one that has won on the lead, has put himself in different spots, comes from off of it. You got to think he wants that sort of stalking position. Distance is a question for me with Cole Battle.
Winner of the UAE Derby, Admired Daytona, who showed speed throughout. He's been battling with Luxor Cafe during the course of his career. He was fourth behind Luxor Cafe in the Hyacinth, but circumstantially, a horse like Admired Daytona, who wants to go forward, broke very poorly that particular day, made a strong bid, and then evened out. These Japanese horses, for me, Kevin, a lot more difficult, obviously, to assess than the North American horses that we've seen run month in and month out.
Yeah, this guy's he's a nut in all the best ways, Joe. He's just talking to himself. You can see him. He's just kind of talking to himself as he goes. I'll never forget in the UAE Derby when before the starting gates open, he was rearing to go and really bringing his hoof forward. He was grabbing the ground, ready to roll. So I'll be looking for that same sort of energy as we approach the Derby.
Back in 2020, the COVID Derby, when authentic went gate to wire. Tiz the Law was second with Manny Franco aboard. He's aboard East Avenue for trainer Brendan Walsh's only previous start. And the Derby was a ninth with Pluska Parfait back in 2019. East Avenue checks a lot of boxes as well as we bring Megan Burgess back into the fold. The speed, the improvement with the blinkers. Again, one of the horses we expect to be forward a week from Saturday. There we got Megan.
Yes, I am.
So East Avenue, I got to mention, is always a horse that trained fantastic at fairgrounds, did everything right. He was always one that was on the top of the list in terms of everybody who was near him or around him, and he seemed to look very good. In terms of the company they keep in the mornings with that Raquel, not necessarily a proven filly, it was soft company, right? So they just coming quickly out of the Bluegrass Stakes, that makes sense to me. They didn't want him to do too much right off after that race, but he handled her the way you want to in terms of holding her off and going deep into that work.
Yeah, I think Raquel's actually unraced, so it was interesting that he paired East Avenue up with her. Want to try to get some thoughts about East Avenue from Megan. We got her back.
Hey there, guys. I lost you there for a second, but I'm back. East Avenue, we can go on and on about the Zeus of a physical that this horse is, but, catching up with Brendan Walsh about kind of how they're cruising him into the Derby as far as his works are concerned, and definitely one to watch as he puts in his final drills and kind of continues to learn from those lessons, as he's going to be a forward horse. He's going to have to knuckle down and really provide his best effort coming into this race, but he looks like a horse physically that's in every bit of fitness to be able to do so.
All right, thanks, Megan. Taking a look at some of the Kentucky Oaks horses, including Quick for trainer Tom Amos, and just kind of maybe been a second-tier horse, I would have to say, over the course of the preps leading up to the Oaks.
Immediately after, and this is your thoughts immediately after a race are different than the longer decisions, but Tom Amos, the trainer, did not feel that she was ready to run the Fairgrounds Oaks. So here we have her. She's on the AE list. She's probably doing good moving forward.
Taking a look at Sovereignty. I believe this is the first time we've seen him live and in the flesh. Besides the replay of the works that we were able to see over the course of the last couple of days. And let's check back in with Megan about Sovereignty.
Sovereignty is a horse that hasn't been the flashiest in the morning, but we have to keep in mind, this is a horse that likes the distance. We know he's going to get that distance. And a lot of the times when you're working these kind of horses in the morning, you kind of have to keep in mind that these 4 furlong, 5 furlong efforts, they're not going to really show their top cruising speed. They're wanting to kind of get them at the right place physically and their fitness level, but they're not going to kind of probably show what they're going to show when they're, trying to nail down a target at the wire in a distance route. So keep that in mind. But all things aside, this horse has been looking absolutely fantastic as he's been here at Churchill Downs. They were very, very pleased with this horse's last breeze, which I thought was probably one of his best works to date. And, as I mentioned, he might not have been the flashiest workhorse. Well, that was an extremely good work last time. So I'm really excited to see how this colt he just seems to be one that's coming into himself. I know some had their sentiments on his Florida Derby effort, but guys, he's looking extremely tough, and he's one of the deserving favorites coming into the Kentucky Derby.
He looked a little washy to me there, Kevin. A little bit of, sweat on his neck and definitely in the kidney area. I don't think it's anything to get overly concerned about, but I certainly noticed it.
But he also looked happy, Joe. I like to see that happy energy from these thoroughbreds in terms of him bobbing his head, feeling good. So definitely feeling good after that work, 2 days ago, putting that work in the morning.
That 15 minutes goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, come back, Derby horses. We want to see you more.
Yeah, the designated training period, as you can see, the racetrack is basically vacant as the horses have stepped back off the racetrack. We've got a lot more to cover here on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show. We want to take a look at the Baeza. We want to take a look at California Burrito and some intriguing works from yesterday, Kevin. Let's start with Baeza, who is on the outside looking in. A lot of people want him to get into the Kentucky Derby, not only because he's Mage's little brother, Dornock's a little brother as well, the Belmont Stakes winner from last year, but because of his talent. He was second best to journalism. Journalism caught him in the Santa Anita Derby, and this is a horse certainly that has a lot of upside. Interesting to see what you think about this work from yesterday at Santa Anita.
You know, we keep on talking about the company that you keep, right? So he's with Aditalon, who's a Grade 3 winner going 1 1/2 miles on the turf. Sheriff has always said that the further, the better for Baeza. He's on the outside of his company, and he goes very far, right? This is 7 furlongs that we have clocked at 1:28, but we also can see that they're going longer than this. About minute 50, we can see him moving at a good speed. So he's with a distance horse. Distance is his friend. This is one that, you got to think the Sheriff's wanted to think that he got something every step of the way. He's getting his fitness and his endurance ready to go for that 1.25 miles.
John Sheriff's telling Steve Anderson of the Daily Racing Form that he wasn't overly concerned about this is a slow time. I mean, compared to some of the other horses that worked 7 furlongs yesterday, we all know that Nisos is a monster and a very good workhorse, but he went 124.
124, right? You can see he makes his bid by, right? But then, all right, we're going to come back at him from the inside. You got to think this is what he wanted, not just to dust a stablemate and then get by and just be lonely, to really push him from the inside. So we're seeing that not only just for a little bit, Joe, but throughout this work. I like this one a lot, and I got to think that Baeza is going to move forward off of that Santa Anita Derby.
Yeah, you mentioned Aditalon and the horse with an average winning distance of 9 furlongs. It's a horse that has stamina, but nothing special as a workhorse in the mornings on the dirt. So I'm not as bullish on this workout as you, Kevin, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out moving forward. John Sheriff's a little bit frustrated at this point that he doesn't have more clarity or hasn't drawn into the Kentucky Derby field with the draw coming up on Saturday.
It worked out for him with Skinner, who ended up scratching but did draw in. So there's always more defections. We see it every year.
No doubt about it.
Cole Battle just hanging out.
He doesn't want to leave the track, Kevin.
I like that. We saw this with Two Phils, that the Riv would just bring Two Phils out to hang out and to look around, to take it in, right? This is a big part of getting that mind right and keeping your horse happy.
All right, we're going to take a look at an interesting work from California Burrito yesterday. Now, this is a horse that ran on dirt in the first 3 starts of his career. He broke his maiden in the slop at Churchill back in late September. He is sitting last in this work. This was orchestrated by Tommy Drury, tips out wide here, and is going to run over the stablemates, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely orchestrated. You can see the riders looking back, waiting for him to make his move, but he floors him, right? He floors him with just a slight little tap to get him going forward. This is the interesting thing about California Burrito. We saw him being a fast horse from the gates, getting forward, winning wire to wire. But in the Ruby, he after breaking out a little bit, he got in that stalking position and came from off of it. You got to think he wants to be that stalker. That's what they're developing him to be. And he faltered at the end. He took that bad step. He was going to have to fight off some game runs with the flow against him. But he's got a big excuse last out. So I do think that California Burrito is quite interesting if he draws in.
Here's Cole Battle. Just to put a bow on California Burrito, he hopped over the starting gate path. You saw him there. He was wearing a half cup blinker. That's going to be an equipment change that Tommy Drury makes, and the shadow roll to kind of sort of cure that potential issue that we saw rear its ugly head in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. I'm very interested in California Burrito if he runs in the Pat Day Mile. That one-turn elongated sprint would appear to be perfect for him, but they are on the AEs for the Kentucky Derby. And Cole Battle, just doing what Cole Battle does, showing really good energy here.
Yeah, no, this is better energy than I was seeing from him last week. I like this move that he's making right now. You can see him get a little bit interested in that horse that just went by him from the inside. He's like, no, bro. I'm the alpha here. I'm going to get in front of you. So I like this move from Cole Battle. This excites me, Joe, because I would love to see Lonnie Briley's runner get it done in the Kentucky Derby. And one thing you want to keep in mind, though, is he's just a little bit too eager and to get by those other random horses that he's running by.
Yes.
No doubt he's doing more than just gallop out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we would call this a story. Let's see if we can bring Megan back in to give us some insight about Coal Battle and some of your thoughts. But certainly a handful here for Bethany Taylor, Megan.
Yeah, he's definitely proven to be a little full of himself this morning. And the rider Bethany Taylor, I saw Lonnie Briley and everybody here at the Lucas Cap. He's certainly taken everything in. He's kind of just very much, like I mentioned, full of himself. And this horse has kind of always been like that. He's had that energy level kind of maintained throughout. And that's what kind of Lonnie kind of said. When he gets into certain stages, he kind of just really wants to take off and go. That's what his exercise rider has also mentioned. But doing a really good job at keeping him within himself, and guys, making sure that he's certainly saving up that engine and not getting too overzealous as far as that's concerned. So not anything to worry too much about, but I think that, of course, Bethany's doing a good job there kind of handling her boy. She's got a very good relationship with this horse. She's been on him throughout his entire career. So, Joe, I think that's also, good sentiment, and they have a good rhythm with each other for
Kevin,
sure.
quick thought here.
Yeah, I'm wondering right now, how far is he going, right? That's a big thing to keep in mind in terms of how far are they galloping, how far are they going in the mornings. You can find out that information. I'm going to wait for the notes. Kevin Kersey and Darren Rogers, who's such a good job, on KentuckyDerby.com/media. You'll be able to see the notes from each day, and they'll have the distance. So how far they go, is he trying to push him to get that distance? Because that's a question I have for Coal Battle. I would love to see that he's going full laps around 2 miles.
No stranger to the Kentucky Derby. 50 starts, 4 wins. D. Wayne Lucas, Winning Colors, Thunder Gulch, Grindstone, Charismatic. This year he's got American Promise. And D. Wayne Lucas just 49 wins away from 5,000 in his career. Hall of Famer, 4 Eclipse Awards, 15 Triple Crown wins. Let's send it back to Megan Burgess. First, we're seeing of American Promise, who did arrive yesterday.
Right, Joe. And this is a horse I've been really eager to see in the flesh. I actually haven't gotten to be able to see him in the flesh. I do believe I might hear a siren going off, but I don't believe I do. Well, it looks like there is a loose horse on track at the moment, but we'll continue on with American Promise. But this is a huge son of Justify. He's 17 hands and growing, as his trainer D. Wayne Lucas puts it. And he's kind of one of those horses where in the Virginia Derby in that 1-turn-9 furlong effort, clean faces win races, as you might mention. So he's definitely going to be a horse that's pivoted to the front end. And D. Wayne has kind of been trying to strategize for that. He had a 7-furlong breeze at Oaklawn Park before he shipped here yesterday, and he looks like he's arrived in good condition. He's happy. He's gotten here within himself. He's a little washed, but right here, but nothing too overzealous by any means. I actually got to see him kind of come around as he entered right by the Lucas Gap. It's obviously named like that for a reason from the coach's barn, and he just looks really, really good. I mean, I was so impressed with him. He's also that graded, he's a half brother to that graded stakes filly, Hoosier filly, so he certainly has the pedigree to get this distance. He achieved the 9 furlongs last time out, and Joe, Kevin, I don't know about you, but he's one that I'm keeping my eye on underneath. He's one that I think if he can get good position, he could be there, especially at the 1.25 miles.
Here's what's going to happen with American Promise, Kevin. He's going to show speed in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to come back 2 weeks later in the Preakness. D. Wayne Lucas is going to be at the Alibi Breakfast. He's going to hold court, and this horse is going to run big in the Preakness. We saw him win it last year. D. Wayne Lucas, I mentioned his tremendous amount of success in the Triple Crown races.
Yeah, he's definitely got seasoning. He's got the foundation. You know that he could probably come back that quick. His move out of the turn in the Virginia Derby was sensational. He just cleared that field in a big way. So watch out for American Promise. I think he's legit.
We saw some Drexel Hill footage from the work with Simply Joking from the other day earlier. Here she is on the racetrack earlier in the show. If you're tuning in late, you can catch the rerun of the show at any point on any of our social media platforms. Megan Burgess caught up with trainer Whit Beckman. We'll bring Megan back in now. And Drexel Hill on the racetrack earlier today, again showing good energy and coming into the race seemingly off that work the right way.
She looks good, guys, and she's a filly that I know a lot of people might disregard in terms of just her overall class. This is a very competitive event here in the Kentucky Oaks, but I do want to mention this. Her busher last time out, we're seeing her on track here, but her busher at Aqueduct I thought was a testament to how she can handle challenges. She stumbled at the start. She took a minute to take the bit. She just wasn't getting the right trip, and she's just a filly that I think is going to improve as well. She's getting a little spooked there, but she kind of collected herself. But, guys, I think it's one to keep an eye on as she continues to progress for Whit Beckman.
All right, thanks, Megan. Let's take a look at Built for trainer Wayne Catalano earlier this morning. And Erica Murray's been the regular exercise rider aboard Built, but I don't think that's Erica. Showing a lot of, I mean, this horse, he's out there early in the morning, Kevin, and, an early riser is Built. He certainly looks like a horse that maybe had a few extra cups of coffee this morning.
Yeah, he does. He's getting a little bit amped up. So, yeah, he walked, the opposite direction all the way down to right around that quarter pole and got off and started his gallop. So it's what he's been doing every morning. He's been getting out there first, getting that early bird award, or simply joking. One of those two has been the first two out. This is after his gallop. As you can see, he's being collected. Built's one that looked fantastic early. Has he improved? Can he get the distance? I got to say, it doesn't seem like he can.
Take a look at the information for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. Again, a qualifier coming up on Saturday. We draw the opening night card for Churchill Downs tomorrow. Lots of great tournaments at Twin Spires, Kevin. I mean, not only the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, but day in and day out from racetracks across the country. But this is a huge tournament. You want to try to qualify for it if you haven't already. $250,000. Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge seats for next year. NHC seats for next year. BCBC seat for this coming fall. Kentucky Derby tickets. And lots of bragging rights.
$250,000, Joe. This is, we've got the BCBC in terms of live money, and then we got the NHC in terms of that win place. This is that third major in the series. All the best tournament players are going to be involved with this. You want to take a swing and try to get involved.
All right, we are crossing the days off the calendar. Major works, obviously, this past weekend trickling in to early this week. Then we'll have the finishing touches next weekend for the Oaks and Kentucky Derby horses. Kevin, we're getting closer. We're both anxiously awaiting the draw of opening night and 5-0 Tuesday, both of those cards being drawn tomorrow.
Both of them being drawn tomorrow. Can't wait to sink my teeth into a Churchill Downs card, Joe. I am foaming at the mouth, ready to roll.
All right.
I'm a rabid handicapper.
I'm right there with you. All right, let's send it back to the backstretch to Megan Burgess, her first appearance on the show. Great job, Megan. What caught your eye this morning? Quick final thought.
Well, thank you. I think everybody looked pretty normal and happy and healthy this morning, kind of taking to the track and getting their legs stretched out a little bit. But I do want to mention Rodriguez. And as we covered that horse today and his work yesterday, he was really a horse that galloped out so nicely, and he's just this improving type that I really think could be typecasted as a speed horse and maybe forgotten. But Bob Baffert knows how to win this race. It's going to be very exciting to see him get here to Churchill Downs, take to the track, and turn in his final pieces of homework. I'm also extremely excited for the arrival of the likely morning line favorite in journalism for Mike McCarthy. He should be here Tuesday, just pending any type of changes tomorrow. So it's going to be really exciting, guys, to see how he looks in the flesh. A lot of us haven't been able to since he's been based on the West Coast. So the Baffert Brigade will be here shortly after as well. Everybody required to be here this coming weekend. And of course, we'll be putting in those final works, guys. So lots to look forward to as we progress into this week. You mentioned those entries being drawn tomorrow. Going to be really excited to see who is going to be there on opening night as far as all of the action in those stakes. And of course, the big dance, the draw for the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby.
Well, thank you, Megan. Yes, anxious to see journalism in the Kentucky horses that are going to be arriving from California. Final thought from you here this morning.
Yeah, I'd love to see Cole Battle's energy there. I'm going to look to see how far he was going there. I thought he was running very well. Sandman is still holding it nicely. And then how about Tapan Street? Just physically seeing him on the track. He's a major player.
No doubt about it. For me, we haven't seen her yet. She's still at Keeneland. She'll be here later this week. Just the comments that Megan was able to get from John Ortiz and Jose Ortiz on Quiet Side. It was a horse that I'm leaning towards for this year's Kentucky Oaks, just to hear about the confidence they have going into the Longines Kentucky Oaks in the run for the Lilies. That's going to wrap it up for another edition of the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires. We will be back tomorrow, Tuesday. Travis Stone will be in the driver's seat for the next 3 days. So some fresh insight from Travis. We'll have Rosie Napravnik in the queue. James Scully joining us later on in the week as well. Tony Kalo, Kevin Kilroy, Caitlin Free, and the debut this morning of Megan Burgess. Hope you enjoy the remainder of your Monday. We'll be right back at it tomorrow, same time, same place on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show.